Hello and welcome to Three Peaks Podcast, where we take a break from the hike of life and appreciate the view. Today, we have a special guest, Kyle Muir. He is a mountain biker, pilot, and owns his own company, PowerBX. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I like the intro.
Thanks. So we hear a lot about your company and how it's doing a great service to other companies as well, but we wanted to learn a little bit more about you and what you do.
I guess I'll start kind of on the personal side. I think that's probably the more important, I guess, side. But and I've always made it a goal to sort of blend like my personal life with my work life. That's always been my goal. I grew up with, my dad's a lawyer, so I grew up with the traditional male-female roles in the household, you know, dad's working, that kind of thing. And I think that like put in me this desire to always like question, like, why does work have to be like this thing that happens at a certain time, certain place, you know, in a certain style of dress. And then I was actually living abroad and got kind of just turned on with like how goods and services were exchanged, particularly like product, like hard goods. And so then when I came back to college, that caused me to get a degree in supply chain management, because I wanted to learn like how raw materials, you know, came to be some finished produced good that you would buy in the United States or in another country. Yeah. So I was always fascinated with that. Like if I had like some other past life, I would have been like Magellan or something like that, just sailing around, like, you know, doing merchant trade with like foreign lands and then, you know, bringing them back. So that, and I've always kind of kept that like nomadic lifestyle. So that's, I guess that's just a little bit on like how I'm wired. And then I guess did a little bit of research, mountain biking and stuff like that. I mean, this is my house. I've got bikes on the wall. I was just working on that bike.
Nice.
Got my snowboards over there. So, I mean, that's kind of my life, I guess, like trying to figure out how to like conquer the elements and stay alive, you know, while doing so. Yeah. And all of that has, you know, translated to, I suppose, the way I approach work. And in the beginning, it was like a lot of hustle. I think there's always I think there's always work, like regardless how much money you have, like there's always work. But I think there's a difference between sort of like a hustle or sort of like a frantic approach to a purpose, which is how I approached work in the beginning, just, you know, always trying to like figure out a way to make a buck while, you know, living my lifestyle in the way that I wanted. But anyways, yeah, so in the beginning for me, it was a lot of traditional work. Like I did college, which I think, you know, could be a good or bad choice depending on your goals. And then I worked for, I don't know, probably like 8 or 9 years, like doing like traditional company work. And just always like I have a filing cabinet that's just stacked full of business plans back, like when business plans were like a thing that you did. Yeah. So like it's like reduced to a pitch deck right now, or maybe like a 1-pager. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I just one pitch deck after another. None of them really worked out. And then in my MBA program, met up with a friend who had started a company, and that's when I got into startup life, quit my job, basically took a big pay cut, did math on how much I needed to eat, you know, and all of that. And that was my sort of jump into startup life.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously you're in a field of technology, PowerBX, and I just wanted to know what got you into technology.
I think technology found me. I yeah, I mean, honestly, it kind of found me. Like, like I said, like I was always interested in the hardware side of technology. It's possible, like sometimes I look back and I wish that maybe I had developed more soft skills like coding or something like that
Yeah.
with tech, but I was always on the hardware side. So um I guess what got me into it is that like I was around people and things and trying to figure out how to create products, manufacture products.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago, ish, products started to become technology. And so you started to have like electronics in products.
Yeah.
And just over the years, I mean, touched, I've textiles, plastics, metals, electronic circuit boards, like all sorts of stuff. So it kind of just found me through sort of a creative approach to learning, honestly.
And for younger generations, they have easy access to like information about like how technology works with robotics classes and clubs, and like clubs about coding, which HTML, CSS. And did you ever take one of those classes or available to you when you were in education?
No, I mean, you guys, honestly, it's possible, like you're probably like more tech savvy than me. Like I know something, like I could sit down and like collaborate with you, and potentially like, I don't know, take like a knowledge base you have and like maximize the value of it just from my experience. But I don't know a lot about it. I mean, yeah, like when I was in elementary school, like it was like, oh, we just got a computer. Like, you know what I mean? Coding, it was like, let's just teach you how to turn on and off the computer. Typing, like we need to teach you how to type, right? Today it's like, you know how to type, like we're going to teach you to code. So very different worlds. Like I played Oregon Trail. Today kids are doing coding and actually creating things that do functional tasks. And I played Oregon Trail. You guys probably don't even know what Oregon Trail
I
is.
actually do know what Oregon Trail
Do
is.
you? Okay.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, the point of the game is like you're put in a survival situation where you get different types of like scenarios, and like you try to find a way to counteract that without dying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're basically Lewis and Clark traveling the trail and trying not to die.
Yeah. And I think that was released in like 1971, right? Is around that.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be an interesting fact. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you ever play any arcade games? Did those exist around your time?
Yeah, I'm not that old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, I remember playing Pong like back when there was one time like that. Honestly, Pong, I'm a little like Pong is before my time, but I guess I'm old enough where there's one time I remember as a kid going over to somebody's house and like Sega Genesis and all that was already like coming out, but they had like Pong, and I was like, oh, holy cow, this is old school like 70s game. But I at least get to say that I played an actual oh shoot, forget what that device is called, an Atari. It was Pong on the original Atari. Yeah.
So cool. So with you growing up in video games or arcade games, I guess, did those games that you played growing up, did they ever kind of correspond with kind of what you are into now?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, actually. In my case, I played a lot of James Bond, and I like to think that I can move smoothly through buildings and, through disastrous situations. So, but I don't think that like setting mines and, collecting like arsenals in that game were that applicable. My parents, funny enough, like if I had kids, I'd be all about like I think it's monitor like tech we'll just say, but I'd be all about my kids playing video games. I was never super into it. It gave me a headache, but my parents also were super restrictive of it.
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, you guys could have set me up for success if you let me play more video games, you know?
Yeah. So with your company, you obviously produce some devices for consumers and also business. So what are some of the products that your company sells?
Yeah, so we sell services, and we sell soft services and products. The manufacturing side of the business, we produce enclosures that house tablets that companies are putting up, and then we also do low voltage electronics to power those devices. So power over Ethernet. I don't know if you guys have heard that come up before.
Ethernet. I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, so you can power really anything, mostly like electronics through Ethernet. So like whatever Ethernet cable, typically you're powering internet, but you can actually, we manufacture a little device, you plug in that internet cable, and then, there's a USB port on the other side, and it's providing power from the server. And it's low voltage power. And because it's low voltage, you don't need an electrician to do the work. Oh, yeah. And so that's where it becomes interesting, because a company or, at your home, you don't have to hire an electrician to come touch hot wires. Yeah. Somebody like with your guys' skill sets could come set up a server and power any number of devices off of an internet line.
Yeah. I also saw in a video you posted on one of your social medias that one of your products called the Desk Pod is that what it's called? Is that correct?
Desk Pod. I don't know about that one. Oh, well,
it's like a little tiny.
Is that on PowerBX? Oh, Zappad?
Zappad. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Zappad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a really incredible device that solves numerous problems for companies, and also you guys are trying to implement that for hotels as well. So what we're wondering is, how did the device come to be? How did the development form this product that you now sell?
Yeah, so that one, if we're talking about the same thing, it's the little I don't have one right now, but it's for like calls like this, and you can quickly mute, right? Yeah, turn on and off the camera, record, screenshot. So that idea was originally spurred by one of the partners I work with, because he, in the beginning of COVID, was doing, I think it was like Zoom calls with his kids' teachers.
Yeah.
And or I think it was maybe not him doing Zoom calls. I think it was his kids doing calls with the teacher and having their need, seeing a need to be able to quickly mute the calls. Yeah. So that's kind of where the idea came from. And then because I've done a lot of products, I was like, oh, that sounds like it would be pretty easy. And I already had some of the manufacturing relationships. So as opposed to going through the whole design process, I basically said, well, maybe we can just take, this is a remote control, but I basically said, what if we just took a keyboard that already exists, same form factor, plastic molds, everything, and just ask the factory to reprogram the chip that's inside here to do different functions than like 1, 2, 3, what was on the device. And so we did that. And then, just like this device has, logos, plus sign, minus sign, all we did was essentially change the icons on each of the keys and had them do a mute button or a camera button. Prototyped it, it worked, and so we launched it, and it's we sell about one a day. It falls a little outside our core business, but we sell one a day without really having to think about it, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so with your company, what was like the biggest inspiration for you to create it?
Well, okay, so PowerBX, I'm not the founder of PowerBX, but I sold, helped, me and a friend sold a different company in 2014 that was very similar. And then I got asked to run BX as CEO. I have an equity stake in it. All the other partners are absentee. 2 of them live in California. 1 of them lives here. And then I run the company. So this one, and I mean, it was pretty much a startup when I came into it. It was a small company. Really, there's just a lot of cleanup that needed to be done. And then COVID, I think, kind of strained everybody. So, I mean, it felt like a startup, but it technically wasn't a startup. It was basically a 1-person company that I was brought in to help grow.
Yeah. And that probably was pretty difficult to build it up from where it was right now to something much more higher. So what were some of the challenges that you faced while running with the company?
Well, I'll tell you about some of the challenges that I'm dealing with right now. So we, well, let me answer that by speaking to like a tip, I guess, this is like a life tip, but I think it applies in business. So a friend told me once that people who make more decisions quicker, will be more successful than other people. So the faster you can make decisions, the faster you can make more decisions, the more successful you will be. That's probably better said. Faster you can make more decisions, the more successful you'll be. And the idea is similar to, if you were training like an AI bot, the more information you feed that thing, the more opportunities you give that thing to make a right or wrong answer, the smarter, more efficient, more productive that AI bot will be. And the human brain, although we are very, we're emotional learners as opposed to technology, which is non-emotional learners, that's how we learn. So I try to apply that in life. I apply it when I'm saying like crazy adventure with friends and I'm playing, and I have, it's a skill to, especially in business, to develop the ability to make quick, fast decisions. So like one of my problems right now, or challenges, is so COVID kind of wrecked us beginning of this year. People started coming, back really well right now. And so I'm just like spending money. I'm spending money fast, right? As opposed to like hoarding it. So I've got an individual that I'm hiring starting Monday. I've got different marketing things that I'm pulling the trigger on. And the challenge is that they're all very loosely organized in a small company without a lot of structure. And my team that's helping manage it all have different skills and experience sets, and so I think that's the hardest challenge, is managing something that's in constant flux. And I think the answer, the tip is to make more decisions faster, and it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong decisions. It's just that you're making decisions fast and learning from the decision.
Yeah. And so from this point at your job here at the company, how many jobs have you had before, and have they like built a path for you to the career that you are right now at?
Not really. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing work with products. Like the products that I work with aren't like super exciting, but it's not as exciting as say like a bike or a snowboard. People don't get excited about like tablets on their wall, but No, I think my career is more a product of like continually seeking to like learn and develop myself, and then connecting me with people that are like productive, opportunists.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that might only apply in a traditional sense. Like I don't know, like especially for you guys at your age, I don't know if like when I was growing up, it was like there's a career path, and I think that holds true for say like a doctor, lawyer, different professional fields. But I think more and more like there's almost more, arguably more value in having an eclectic, diverse skill set that where you've, and also too, there's so much opportunity. Like today, I think about it, and I was discouraged growing up from maybe doing something crazy. Like I got this kid that is working in my warehouse part time, and he's a skier. All he cares about is skiing. That's all he cares about. And I love it. Like I encourage it. And he's like, Kyle, he's like, this was last night. He's like, I'm coming in tomorrow. Like, we got snow. I'm like, all right, dude, your call. Like, he chooses, to snowboard. And I like that because I think it's more of a more authentic relationship. Like he's living a more authentic life. I'm living, I'm running a more authentic business. And next month he's gone because he's gonna go to Mount Hood to ski. And I was discouraged from doing things like that growing up. And he asked my career advice on it, basically saying, should I stay here and work and get experience?
Like you showed us before, you have some mountain bikes and you are a fan and love mountain biking, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So both me and my brother are on our high school's mountain biking team, but I want to ask you if you ever had the chance of mountain biking in your youth, or yeah.
Yeah, I basically grew up on a more of like a BMX bike.
Oh yeah.
And then I went through this period where I just like I'd break a frame every year, and then finally broke down and like bought a nice bike. And then and then I raced motorcycles for a while and didn't bike. And what really got me out biking is I broke my collarbone in a motorcycle race. And then from that, like I couldn't ride my motorcycle, and so I started taking my dad's bike out. And that's what got me into mountain biking.
Yeah, awesome. So with mountain biking, a lot of people love to do it, and in Utah there's a lot of great trails available to anyone that enjoys the hobby. But for you, why do you find it so exciting, and do you find it also relaxing at times?
Yeah. For me, biking, I need something in my life, and biking has been like the best sort of mix. I need something that elevates my heart rate, like in a cardiovascular sense. And so I do a lot of good thinking during times where I'm holding like my heart rate for a long period of time. So that's one reason I bike. And then second, I really like moments that require 100% like concentration or depth.
Yeah.
So those two things I think is what I like most about biking.
Yeah. And you are also a pilot, an aircraft pilot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you become a pilot? Because for a lot of people, when they think of airplanes, they just think of the one you'd go to an airport and hop on a flight to a different city or a different country. So how did you learn how to fly a plane?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my uncle had a friend with a plane. I was really young, but I had this memory from like a long time ago of like going up in this plane and then getting to, I just remember them letting me take the controls and I was like, whoa, flying this plane. And ever since then, like that memory had just like stuck. And it was always something of like, I need to do this, I need to do this. And this is a good example of like one of those like fast decisions that doesn't make any sense outside of like what you're feeling. Because it like financially didn't make sense, timing didn't make sense, but I was like, I need to make this like dream life goal happen. So I just pulled the trigger on it. This was in 2018, and started taking lessons. And it's kind of the same lesson that I told my little warehouse worker that wants to go ski Mount Hood. I don't think it matters like what you choose to do. What matters is the way that you choose to do it, and how you connect with people. I think it's all about connecting with people, that connecting with people while doing something that aligns with your passion. So yeah, anyway, started just taking lessons, and then last year I got my instrument rating, and then last year I got my commercial license, and then I crashed my plane in October, and so now I have been flying. Tonight after I do this, I'm going to be finishing editing a video that kind of like tells the story, because I have a whole bunch of like GoPro footage of the event. I say crash, but technically it's worded landing. It's not as serious as a crash, but
okay.
Anybody who I talk to just understands crash. So, but according to the FAA, it's not an accident. It's an aborted takeoff.
Yeah.
But the plane's totaled.
Yeah. So, well, for all of us, for the most part, when being on plane, we're just sitting in a chair, and that's about it. And we wait until we get off the plane. So for you, you're right in that seat. Your hands are on the controls and you're controlling where that machine is going. So what is so exciting about being able to control a plane and how it operates?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of like honestly biking. It's one of those situations where you're completely engaged when you're flying, in order to do it safely. And even the fact I crashed my plane and I'm still alive, it's because of how I planned it. I didn't plan to crash the plane, but like I planned it well enough to know that I needed to abort the takeoff in order to avoid death.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So I like the planning piece. I love the engaging with like the elements. Like you have to learn about weather and plan around weather, and and understand how weather is moving, relative to the time that you're in the air, all those things. And then when you're in the air, what's cool is you've done all this planning. So at this point, like you're just flying.
Yeah.
And like you have to be engaged, like your hands are on the control, like there's no autopilot, it's just you and the plane and this sort of premeditated plan, and whatever comes up in between, turbulence or my favorite was I've had some cool experiences doing it, but like my favorite is planning like a flight to a new airport at nighttime. And so you're like navigating to this airport, and then all you see is lights.
Yeah.
And then you get closer and closer, and I don't know, it's a very surreal experience. Like it's like what I imagine like an astronaut experiencing, like coming back to Mars. Like there's so many things that are just sort of like bizarre, but physically possible. And you land, and it's surreal. So I think it's like that whole journey of like planning, flying, and then arriving at somewhere totally new from dropping down from the air. It's yeah.
And I bet that probably does a number on your legs sitting that long, right?
Well, I mean, it's only really like, this plane, maybe 3.5, 4 hours at a time. So it's definitely like, it's not as bad as like an international flight where you're sitting for what, like 18 hours or something.
Yeah, that's for sure. You also mentioned that you love to snowboard. What got you into snowboarding?
Snowboarding. I skied for 6 years when I was a kid, and then I as soon as snowboarding like first hit the scene, for I don't know what honestly, but I was like, I want to try that, and I had already been introduced to skiing, and then as soon as I got on a snowboard, it was the feeling. Like I like the feeling, the position, the stance better than skiing. So I've never gone back. I know some people like switch back and forth. I can get on a pair of skis and ski, but I don't like the feeling. And so if skiing were all that it is, it'd just be like, for me, because I don't like the feeling. But carving and jumping and moving on a snowboard is just intuitive to me. And same thing, like adventure, friends, being outside. Like I split board. You guys familiar with that? Backcountry touring. No,
Yeah.
yeah. So I got a normal snowboard, but my other snowboard is like split down the middle.
Oh.
And so they're called skins. I put skins on the bottom, and I switch the position of the binding, so I walk up the mountain.
Yeah.
And then when I'm at the top of the mountain, I pull it apart, I put the board back together, I put the bindings in normal, and I snowboard down.
Yeah. Whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it's a split board. That's why they call it split boarding. So I split board, and I do that more than anything else now. But it's another activity that gets my heart rate up, where you're just like, I mean, it's hard. You got to have like pretty solid cardio ability. And then once you're up there, you get in these places that are just like quiet, pristine, no people, middle of nature. There's you're somewhat at odds with the elements, because you're having to watch out for avalanches. Maybe there's weather. You're totally backcountry. There's no, resort around. And so it's just, I think it's just, I like those, I don't know, the stoic moments of life, I suppose.
Yeah. So yeah, that's incredible. Have you been able to watch this year's Winter Olympics? I think that was pretty awesome.
I watched, I caught bits and pieces of it. I don't have cable. And so it's okay. Yeah. I don't know. So I feel like it's like, bits and pieces on YouTube, but it's, the Olympics are interesting. Yeah. People pushing themselves, in, really interesting ways. So I definitely caught some of it.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to move on to our final question. And on the podcast, it's known as the big question. You ready?
Big question. Oh, shoot.
All right. So the big question is, what advice would you give to a younger person who wanted to pursue a career that is somewhat like yours?
Well, that's a good question. I think it goes back to taking risks on your own heart versus others.
Yeah.
That would be my feedback. And it's really easy. And even early on in my career, I mean, honestly, one of the main reasons I worked as long as I did at a normal company is because I didn't take risks on myself, on my own heart and those things. It wasn't until like later in life, but I think that would be my tip. And then, do that with like full, like stoke, rising, that is your heart's reputation line, right? So it should translate into doing whatever you're doing. There is never failure, so it really should just translate into doing whatever you're doing and the best you can do it. kind of probably like you guys are doing this podcast in a sense, but that would be my advice is like, following your heart with, whatever the passion is, and then just being quick to change it. If it's like, yeah, not feeling that anymore. All right. Don't do that anymore. Go do something else, but just do whatever you're going to do with, full of passion and best that you can.
Kind of like taking your own risk with like your own heart and just following your passions and what you find and being quick to change paths when you're not interested in it anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice summary.
Yeah, nice job. All right. So we just want to thank you so much for coming on to the show. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to meet with us and talk about your career.
Yeah. Thanks for making time yourself, and appreciate the work and effort in the question and research. So yeah, happy to do it and hope it's helpful for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all we got for you guys on the Three Peaks podcast. We'll see you hikers on the trail.